Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Spiritually Awkward Podcast. Some woo woo, mostly wisdom. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Kaylee.
Today, our topic is Seekers Beware. And today's topic comes with a bit of a content warning. A bit of like it's going to be a bit heavy today. And we're going to be talking about cults, scams within the community of spirituality and everything that kind of has to do with that about using your discernment. So if this doesn't feel like your speed, if this feels like something you're not really wanting to listen to, we wanted to give a bit of a content warning because it may be a bit triggering to some and it may feel a little bit heavy with the topics we're going to get into today. So you've been warned, forewarned. um, so first thing we're going to be touching on is and actually, before I even go into that, I really want you to use your discernment. Something we talked about in our last episode is feeling empowered to do so. Use your discernment. Don't trust everything you hear, including even on our podcast. We're just operating from our own experience. This doesn't mean this is the truth or the be all end all, right? So, um, I recommend you watching this documentary first for yourself if you haven't. Some of the information I will be sharing today is from a documentary I watched on Netflix called Escaping Twin Flames. So this is about a cult within the spiritual community. Have you seen this, Kaylee? I don't think you have, right?
I haven't. No.
You haven't. Okay.
Uh-uh.
So it's definitely like it's a little heavy, it's a little shocking, some of the things on this documentary. But yet again, like this is just not firsthand account. This is me watching that documentary. So I'm going to share some things I've seen from that documentary. You got to see it for yourself to understand how you would feel about it, right? Um, so essentially, it's a story, a documentary about a cult that is currently, I believe it's in California, and it's an online community of people who are helping. The leaders claim that they will help you find your twin flame, and that ultimate union. And so they're kind of making it about romance in a sense, like your ultimate relationship twin flame. Um,
Okay,
and
first of all, ew.
yeah, kind of ew, like kind
First of all, ew. On so many levels.
of
Okay.
what makes you like believe that you're like the messiah that's gonna do this for people that you know best? Like that seems a little bit above conceited. It's about like the inner journey, not about finding someone to give you those answers. So that definitely was a little bit red flag, right? Um,
Mm,
so they do this. They claim to do this through a series of coaching or exercises of courses that you have to pay for to be a part of their community. So like you're
of
paying to
course.
become in the community and to do the work to manifest your twin flame. So let's like backtrack a bit. Like, what do you feel is a twin flame in all reality? Like, spiritually speaking, what's your idea of what a twin flame is?
So, okay, first of all, I literally like all these people that are
Yeah.
so obsessed with like my twin flame. Listen, if you knew, you wouldn't. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
twin flames is essentially like one soul that splits into two, right? They're so very similar, so very like it's like one extreme and then the other. So like here's you and then here's your other extreme living out there doing all kinds of things. When they meet together, it is like fire and gasoline,
Yeah.
unless they have like worked on themselves enough that they can have that union together.
Mhm.
That's not like that is very rare. Twin
Yeah.
flames are very rare where they work out. If you meet your twin flame, they are going to cause you great upset. They're going to
Yeah.
shake your foundations. That's what they're for. They're
Mhm.
not here to make everything warm and fuzzy. They are here to like flip you on your ass.
Yeah.
Like,
It's not a story of your Prince Charming.
No, it's not. It is not at all. And
Mm.
that's the thing that I want people to like really take away from this
Yeah.
is like twin
Hmm.
flames and soulmates are marketed by people who know that people are desperate to find somebody to companion with, somebody, their other half, right?
Yeah.
And so soulmates to me are like my best friends, like
Hmm.
family members, like people who I have met and I feel like I've known them for my
Yeah.
entire existence,
You
right?
feel
Those are
safe.
soulmates.
Hmm.
It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
And in the case of like a twin flame, like it's going to be like a whirlwind at first, and then it's not going to be great.
Yeah.
It's not going to be great. And like that's what it's being marketed to people as. And
The
I
ultimate
literally,
union.
yeah, ugh, no, it
Yeah.
isn't. Not unless you know that you are 100% perfected yourself.
And they have
And
to too.
right, and there's not very
Mhm.
many people on this planet that can say that
Yeah.
they're perfected on a spiritual level where the twin
Mhm.
flames can then meet and intertwine and become one again. Like the idea sounds super great, but like
Yeah.
that's a scam.
Right?
The twin
Yeah.
flames things is a scam to me.
Yeah.
And I mean,
And
everybody's personal beliefs, you do you.
mhm.
I'm just saying what I've been told and what I've come to understand of them. That is not
Yeah.
remotely how
And
they
it may
are.
not even be a romantic relationship if you were to meet your twin flame. It may just be a learning experience, like a learning relationship. People that come
True,
into your
like
lives to shake your
an
life up.
enemy.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah,
You never know. So I think it's really telling, like that they're taking advantage of vulnerable people who really are desperate to find love and have had struggles in that regard, and they're leaning more into spirituality at this point, and they're maybe more in the 4D, right? So they're still 3D 4D hopping, and they really want to find a community that is all about acceptance and love, and unfortunately they're being misled with these
yeah,
ideals because it's like, well, it must be worth something. They're charging me. I get to be part of their team. They want me to be teachers with them now. It's kind of like how it seems in this documentary. Like, oh, you're on these team calls and you got to do this, this, and that. And you got to convince your people this, and that. And it just like was really hard to watch the way
like
that
a
this
pyramid scheme.
kind of like a pyramid scheme. Yeah, absolutely. It's like, ooh, that feels really sticky, icky watching it from the outside. But you can imagine going into that, feeling the desperation to feel like you belong somewhere, like you want to find that safe community to land and to feel like you're on the right path to finding the love of your life. If that's something you're really feeling lonely and alone and you want to find that person, you can't promise you're going to give someone the love of their life. Like that is a huge promise. Like, yes, I believe in manifestation, but it should be within yourself that you're manifesting, not someone else having the power to do that for you. So that's a big
Yeah,
red flag to look for.
that's
Yeah.
that's the other thing too is like once we get to the point like in all reality, what somebody should be teaching
Hmm.
is self-love first.
Yeah.
You find your own fulfillment in yourself. You do not need somebody else you don't need to have somebody else in order to fill like that void that you're missing. Like
The ultimate love.
somebody else will just yeah, somebody will just come and compliment you
Hmm.
in your life. And so like if they're pushing this like, "Oh, I can help you find love," like and they're not telling you to seek it within,
Hmm.
that is the biggest red flag I'm as a scam for me.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the work needs to happen here first.
Yeah.
There's my thumbs up again.
Thumbs up for work happening here first. Yep.
Yeah, I'm taking that as a sign from spirit.
Yeah,
Fine.
absolutely. Uh, yeah, so it's really all about the self-love piece. And if you're seeing that theme of the 3D being that you're looking for validation, love outside of yourself, you're looking for the answers outside of yourself, and you're not being guided to look within, to do the inner healing, to do the inner love work and self-worth, you do need to look at those red flags. Big time. Just be aware. We really want, like, our main goal for sharing this information is that we have experienced, like, I can for sure say for myself, I've experienced what it feels like to be blindsided in a community that I thought was like amazing, supportive. I thought it was going to be the ultimate, like, amazing place to land. And you know what? I was ignoring red flags. And so I think it's really important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah, so I'm gonna be vulnerable with you listeners, okay? So, I mean, to come forward and talk about these things, like the fear of like the repercussions of us openly talking about this. Like it's not easy. It's kind of scary, but like I also feel like to give somebody a perspective, for me to say I qualify to tell you about this, I want to also share a personal experience. And that's kind of essentially like you were talking about in that documentary how they were making people like bringing people into the inner sanctum to make them feel special and
mhm.
champion their cause. That was me essentially. And and like on the outside it looked like everything was great and like I was having a great time and I was really passionate towards the cause, and you know what, honestly I still am.
Yeah, because
Like
the core
if
of
we
it.
get down to the nitty gritty without like the behaviors of some of the people, like the core of it, I still really feel like that's something, and that is helping people.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted out of that. And so some of the things that I had noticed was, like it wasn't easy for me to approach the like head of this organization and say, I see problems here, or I'm not feeling like this should go this way, or like to give my input. I didn't feel like I was being heard. Number one, I wasn't being heard. And like that fear of like going against the grain in order to like not make them angry. And I mean, one of those things like that does stem from religious trauma that I've had growing up LDS, right? Like you don't question, you just have faith. Don't ask questions. Otherwise, you're not faithful. And like you're like, oh no, I'm not asking questions. I have faith. Like, but in the back of your head, it's burning a hole into it, right? You want to
Yeah.
know.
And it's
And
triggering that trauma response in you.
it is. And then there's that
Mhm.
self-worth piece is like, you know, you're clearly the expert on this thing, and I'm just some peon and I'm questioning you. That's where like that danger arises, right?
Mhm.
Like that's where the red flag comes in. I didn't feel comfortable to say those things, that I didn't feel comfortable to ask those questions, that I didn't feel comfortable to address the things that I was concerned with. That's a red flag
Yeah.
in any organization. It doesn't matter if it's an organized religion, like a community, period.
Yeah. You
It's
should be
that I
made to
did not
feel.
feel safe. Yeah, I did
Mhm.
not feel safe
Mhm.
to say that. And then when I finally ended up being like, no, this is not how it is. I I was then like ostracized, right? Villainized even. Like the narrative that was like created surrounding what had happened, right? Like it painted me in a very terrible light. And honestly, like my justice portion of like my ADHD and like and my autism is like that's not fair of you to do. And so
Yeah.
I've had to like deal with like walking backwards so that I could get to my self-worth through that.
Mhm.
And that's really challenging. And like not a lot of people are prepared for that mentally.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people actually want to do that, but I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Like,
So in a way, like, you learned a lot from it, but it's
yeah, and I'm
yeah.
I'm I'm not saying that like in this place like I didn't gain a lot of knowledge out of it.
Mhm.
I didn't gain a higher understanding because I did. I did. And would I recommend, let's just say this, would I recommend somebody joining that particular community? Yes. But also don't dive too deep.
Yeah. Don't make
Learn
it
what you,
the be all end
yeah,
all.
yeah. Learn what you need to learn out of it. Use your discernment. And when something starts to feel uncomfortable, let that be known. Let your voice be heard.
Mhm.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, I am not advocating for like go ahead and run headfirst
Mhm.
into a cult. Don't do
No.
that. But like observe, learn what you can,
Yeah.
then go forward. Anyways, so that was my little like tangent.
No, it's true, like,
Back to
go in
your
with eyes open. Yeah, it's all good.
yeah, go in with
Yeah.
eyes open and your
Yeah.
intuition leading you.
Mhm. Yeah, don't
So,
ignore
okay,
those
anyways,
little niggles, those little red
right,
flags.
right. So anyways, now back to this documentary because I know that there's
Yeah.
more and it's
There's
crazy.
there's more we need to touch on too, like, imagine a situation so this was something that came up a little later on in the series, this documentary, where because they were noticing that people weren't finding their twin flame and they were getting frustrated, like their members, they started to change, like, the leaders started to change their, mm, explanation of things to say that you will find your twin flame within the organization. Once you join, they will be within the organization. Now, the struggle with this is there were a limited amount of people within the organization.
Yeah,
They
the dating pool is
the
very
dating
shallow.
pool is it is what it is. And it was mostly female and like, I think that in that in this ideal that he was creating, I believe is Jeff. I think his name was Jeff. Um, it was him and his wife that were leading this organization, and they were claiming that they were twin flames and that their marriage was amazing, and because he was the divine masculine and she was the divine feminine, so they were selling this narrative that it has to be a man and a woman as well, which is also like really harmful to like progress being made within ostracized communities that we are well aware of. And then he was saying he was going to make a list of who the next twin flames pairings were. And he would send out this list and it would list out the divine feminine and divine masculine in those pairings within the organization. And if you were female and like you were born female, and you were in the divine masculine column, you were made to like, you were basically encouraged, and this is still happening now, I believe. You are encouraged to change your gender, completely have a gender surgery, like all of it, completely changed to becoming a trans man. So, and I'm
What
not
the
sure, there might have actually been a trans woman switch as well. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and watch the documentary, but both ways. And that is inherently harmful to the progress of trans rights, the trans community as well, because it's creating this like, oh, they're just being brainwashed, you know, like it's harmful.
Yeah, it's perpetuating that shitty narrative.
Mhm.
Oh, no.
It's so sad. So I know that the people that are probably in it and really truly believe because they want something to believe in, if even if they're listening, you know, we just want people to live their best life. And that's why we were sharing this information because I truly don't think anyone should tell you. No other human other than yourself has the right to tell you who you are. Bless you. Get those demons out. Yeah, so that was like wild.
That is like insanity. I
Mhm.
First of all, like if you didn't feel like you identified as like the other gender, like and now you're forced to live like that, like you
Yeah, and to really like again, like the divine feminine and the divine masculine have nothing to do with our physical genders on this 3D earth. And they are
no.
really like skewing that as well. So they're really throwing a lot of these things out of whack in the name of
Yeah.
like he is the Messiah. Like what is this?
Yeah, like not only does it have nothing to do with our physical gender,
Hmm.
it's that we have to embody both masculine and feminine to be balanced. Like we have to have equal parts. Like it's not one or the other. Like you can lean more towards one side, but honestly, like if you completely
Yeah.
like if you go to the masculine side all the way and have zero like you
You're
tend
not
to be like a
you're
irrational and
yeah,
and
all action,
violent.
no being. Yeah, no
Yeah, and
existing.
then if you're too feminine, then you're like also irrational and then sometimes violent. Like you
Yeah.
have to have both.
You need a balance to for both to be like common centered and to get things done and to also learn to just be like very important. So it's just again, like we haven't really delved into what divine masculine and divine feminine are, so you guys can like look that up if you don't know what it is. But essentially it's definitely probably a topic for another time, but it's very much being misused and in like the worst kind of way.
Hmm.
Yeah, in this community.
Yeah,
People just want to feel like they
absolutely.
belong. And sometimes they'll forget to use that discernment when joining into a community. It doesn't have to be a spiritual community. This is just the topic we're choosing because it's our podcast. It's spiritually awkward,
Yeah,
right? But, you know, you can use these examples for any kind of community.
yeah, you really can.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about some of the red flags
Hmm.
that
Red flags.
that we would look for in like a leader of a spiritual organization.
Yeah. Um, I can even kind of give a little bit of my own experience with this as well is that feeling of as soon as you have a different viewpoint or you're even so excited to be part of the community that you thought it would be safe to share some constructive criticism feedback because you believe in the progress and the end goal and you're like you're in it like you're excited and you know the response is really harsh and or just disinterested or like a little bit defensive, being aware like if that's how you're getting received, that's a red flag for sure. Um any kind of like a school or any kind of educational system, the more successful ones will be willing to hear feedback from their clients, their students, their customers, because they're wanting to grow and develop and make sure that they're on the right path, right? Like that's just a sign of a good leader. But if the second you have a different viewpoint and you're basically villainized and made to sound like you're talking trash about the organization, like that is wild, right? So be really aware of like how does it feel to go to those people that are in charge? If it feels kind of scary and icky, why is that? Have they made that environment feel that way? Or is it possibly just a trigger in you? Like just really like do some deep diving there. This is
Yeah,
it's
like if
something to
the
be.
punishment doesn't fit the crime.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so condemning you for a different viewpoint or criticism is a big one. Um, and if the energy of the leaders feels off, like you can feel people's energy. If something feels off, don't just ignore it. Like be aware of it. You can still like just note it for later. You don't have to like do anything about it right away, but just keep your distance because of those things. Like be aware and don't let yourself be blindsided because that is a choice to be actively like not looking for these things is a choice too, and it can just like hinder your growth and your speed of growth if you are blindsided in these kinds of communities because we know we want to find people like us when we feel different and other we want to find people that make us feel like we're not crazy, like it's safe. It's a safe space to share our weird, our whatever. And when those things get ripped out from under us, that's really painful. Or can be if you
Yeah,
weren't expecting it.
it's like another level of like get religious trauma, right? Like that
Yes.
loss of community, that loss of sense of self, our
Yeah.
belief systems crumbled. Like that's definitely something that like and if people do find themselves in a cult or a religious organization or a belief system, spiritual community where like they have been I would like essentially abandoned,
Yeah.
right? Like if they've been abandoned or they've chosen to leave, like that is devastating. And it goes back to what we were talking about in like that sense of community and stuff. Like if that it's I guess what I'm trying to say is it's important to if you've noticed a friend or a family member who has been in some kind of a spiritual like organization that had like very unethical belief systems or like cults and they choose to leave, please be gentle with them. Like, of course, use your discernment in order to
Yeah.
like keep up your boundaries, right? Like, just be patient with the fact that they're reprogramming
Yeah.
themselves to come out of this and start to wake up and look around. That's all
Yeah.
I want to say about that.
Maybe like instead of offering advice right away, if you're seeing them come out of it, ask them what they need instead. If you
Yeah,
truly like want to help support them, like they may not be ready for looking at it for they're just healing, like just figure like have an open communication with that.
yeah.
So some other red flags, conformity, control, and it can be so subtle that
Mm,
it doesn't always look super obvious. Like the core of the organization may have a great value of what they're all about, and that's what brought you there in the first place. You really believe in their their vision, the goal, and then you start to see through the cracks a little bit of, oh, but everyone needs to be like this in order for you to be a part of the organization. And if you're not, you're villainized a little bit. Like, so if you see someone being
mhm.
villainized, but you don't really know the story, maybe question that a bit and wonder why, because they may not feel the need to just openly share with everyone their own story. Like they're hurting, they're who knows what they're going through. Don't necessarily assume everything was righteous or properly dealt with, right?
Mhm.
Always use discernment. This should be the topic. Oh, the topic title, discernment. Um
Discernment.
Yeah, and that kind of like authoritarian mind control over its members. These are very similar things that can be so secretively hidden within the leadership, right? Especially if the leader of the organization is not very present within the community and just isn't involved in the discussions if it's an open community, right? So just being aware of how how present are they and how does it make you feel truly?
Hmm.
Yeah. Mhm. Um, Another one that I can kind of talk on is when talking to your peers is discouraged, that's a big red flag.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm an adult. I can talk to who I want. I don't need anyone to tell me that I can't share my feelings and experiences with others that I deem my friends. And it's not a problem to find out if others are feeling the same way or if I need to like readjust my own view. There's nothing really wrong with that. And if anything, it helps create a more balanced view.
Hmm.
Um, and like if they're assuming your goal is to just talk trash, that's their assumption. That's their problem. You know within
That's an
yourself.
yeah, that's an insecurity of theirs. I
Yeah.
mean, I think
Yeah.
me and you kind of bonded over something similar to that. Like
Hmm.
it was just how it went. Like again, the reaction did not wasn't warranted the way that it went.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that left us both at a loss
Yeah. The punishment
too.
didn't fit the supposed crime that they thought.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think
That kind of
that
thing.
that's being able to freely talk amongst the other members of that community is probably like a keystone of a community. Like if it's not open for debate,
Then what are we in a
red flag.
cult? Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait a
exactly.
second.
Exactly.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And then there's also like keeping an eye out for so the sowing seeds of distrust that can happen. So like if you see messages come across or things being said that are just like vague, but kind of make you feel like, oh, something's going on and they're not
That
really
you
saying
should
what.
right, that you should watch out for your neighbor. You know what I mean? Like that you should
Yeah.
be wary because there's somebody out there coming to get you.
Yeah, somebody
Like
out there is
somebody out
not
there
really
spilling the
good for
beans.
this community or like that is
Yeah,
strange, right? It's kind of like why are we in this energy of like fear and sowing distrust between each other? Like this should be a community of a safe space to discuss these things. And if there's a problem, go to the person. Don't just create like a large conspiracy amongst your people. Like so that's another one like being aware of the energy that they're putting out into their community. What is that energy saying? Feel it, don't just believe it, like don't just fall for everything they have to say, like really analyze it for yourself. How does it make me feel? Is that the kind of community that I want to be like 100% committed to, or do I just want to take what I can gain from it, support who I can, who I believe I can, and move on? Like figure that out for yourself. Yeah.
yeah.
So this can be a scary thing in the fallout, right? Like there's that loss of the community that
Mm.
you really felt was like your family, like your found family. Like that's a profound feeling. Like to find the people that you think will always have your back and that always like are there to listen to your differences and like when you when you first feel like if that happens to you, I'm sorry if this has happened to you. Um just remember like your worth. Like the isolation can be hard. Learning who your friends are is priceless, however. So,
Hmm.
that's something like I can definitely say I'm super grateful for is learning who my friends are. You can't put a
Yeah.
price tag on that,
No.
honestly. So
Ah,
better to know than to never not be sure. So yeah. But be kind to yourself if you're going through this sort of thing, and understand that you have to ultimately always have your back. You have to take care of yourself. And no one else can give you the answers. They can give you advice and ideas, but you need to make up your own world and reality and support yourself.
yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
It's a bit
keep
of a heavy
hammering that
topic.
self-love, okay?
True. Yeah. I guess we can talk a bit about the compensation part of it too. Like, ask questions. If questions aren't allowed, red flag. If people are volunteering their time and you almost wonder, like, is that fair? Are they being taken advantage of? Are you being taken advantage of because you're so excited and willing to help the cause, but you're not being valued? Like, you're not truly being supported.
Right. I mean, like within church organizations, right? Like
Hmm.
I know that we've done like bake sales and crap like that. But like if it's a constant basis, like if you're using people to do your work for you, but they aren't being compensated as you are,
Hmm.
and they're putting in majority of the effort, red flag. Red
Yeah.
flag that you're being taken advantage of.
Yeah. Yeah. It shouldn't feel like there's no end in sight, or like there's no like actionable goal, or like if there hasn't been a clear conversation about how you're going to get to the place you want to be. If you can't even have that conversation because you're afraid, like there's so many things there that need to be looked at. So
Hmm.
like, if you're teaching for someone that isn't really paying you, like look into that. Like, yes, it's amazing to feel excited about a community and about their goals,
It's
but
also
you
exciting to be like trusted with that important job.
interesting, right? So
Yeah,
creating this
like
sense of like, that's the
you are
value.
yeah, like
Mm,
it's almost like when you come to the realization, like you're asked to do an important role, and then you come to the realization like, oh, I'm being taken advantage of. Then it
yeah.
sucks because then
Yeah.
you turn inward on yourself and you be like, why did like
And
am I actually really
it's
important
manipulation.
enough for this yeah, yeah, but like am I important? It goes to that self-worth thing. But like was
Mhm.
I actually really important or did they just need somebody to fill that spot? And so you start getting on yourself about like, oh, well, I guess you're not, you know. I mean, stupid you for thinking that you were good enough to do that. Like that kind of ego piece. Like,
Yeah, and that's part of the ostracization and villainization as well that comes through. And then you're internalizing it. So it is all a manipulation that you need to know your value, and truly you believed it at one point. Why isn't it true? Like that you are valuable and worth it. Like just
yes.
because someone else can't gain from you anymore, that you're no longer valuable. Like, if you really look at it, if someone else was saying that about themselves, you would be like the first person to be like, no, 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 no. It's so much harder when it's the inner
You
work.
don't talk to my friend like that.
Yeah. I love that girl. What?
Violent,
Say nice
violent
things to
pub,
yourself.
or else.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Is there any other red flags that you kind of felt like we needed to touch on that we haven't? I guess the false sense of security was one we could probably go on as well.
Mm, yeah, yeah. So that false sense of security, right? So when we talk about false sense of security for this one, is like you can ask me anything. If you have any concerns or any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. Yet their energy is not like matching that.
Yeah.
So like you can't approach them for anything. Like it
Yeah.
puts the fear into you that you can't approach them for that. Like, do I actually want to like it comes back to that like do I want to piss them off?
Yeah.
Like if I piss them off, am I going to be kicked out? Like
And you want to be part
you
of.
you should not feel afraid to be kicked out because you have something to say.
Yeah. That's a big
You
red flag.
That is a big red flag. So it's that false sense of security. Just
Mhm. Yeah.
trust me.
You
And
can
and then
always
another piece
trust me.
of that, yeah, and then another piece of that is like it's it's like that salesman tactic, right? Where they're like, if you don't believe me, you can go look on Google or like it's that like you can trust me. I'm I'm a good person and like if I'm wrong, please tell me. Do they want to be told they're wrong? Absolutely the fuck not, they don't.
Yeah.
But they're gonna put that persona out there as if they can.
Hmm.
They're just gonna make it so that nobody actually does.
Yeah. It's actually reminding me of like when people like those body cues, body languages, when people are lying and stuff. Like, so like if you're saying yes, yes, but you're shaking your head no, it's
Yeah.
that, but energetically as well.
Yes.
That
That's
exact thing.
exactly what it is. Yes, that's
Hmm.
exactly what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Like that's just even watching me do it. Like, so I'm shaking my head no while I'm saying yes. And it's just like, it just
Yeah.
feels off even in my body. I'm like, okay. It's hard
Yeah.
to do it. It's hard to actually do it.
The
Yeah.
mechanics don't line up.
This isn't working. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
So
so scams. I want to talk
scams.
about scams because they are I get
Yeah.
so upset. I get so upset. So like I am on TikTok. I have a presence on TikTok and I have a very limited one on Instagram. The thing that pisses me off the absolute most is getting those DMs or somebody in my comments being like, I have a message for you from Spirit. No, you don't. No, the fuck you don't. I am a random stranger on the internet.
Yeah.
You do not have a message for me. And like, you're going to come at me with the same, you're just copying, pasting. You're saying this shit to every single person.
Hmm.
And then, like, the reason that they are getting away with it is because people are falling for it. And we want to be here to get the message out. Stop feeding into it so that they
Yeah.
stop doing it. Please.
Like we
Please.
understand. We understand you being in a place of really seeking answers and looking for
Yes.
someone that you can trust to give you those answers. And like the idea of someone like feeling into your energy is magical that they could like find you out and like, but it's not going to happen. Like any reputable psychic, medium, healer will never reach out to solicit business ever. Like,
Never. Not
never.
once.
Mm-mm.
Ever, ever. Not once.
No, not a reputable, like honest, someone that actually has is connecting.
Skill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So some examples that I can like maybe give you an idea of what to look out for. Let's say you've been on some astrology sites and you put some information in there and you're like just checking out the daily horoscope, checking out your birth chart, whatever it is. And then you get an email saying, I could give you some more information if you're interested. Just click here. And then you got to pay for more targeted oracle information. Okay, that's a scam. No. don't pay them. It's not like it's not how reputable people will do business either. Like
It's not.
mm-mm.
It's not at all. And then, like, the other thing too is like they're not going to try to convince you to book with them.
No,
They're
I
not going to
don't
be like,
my
I'm really good at what I do. Are
doesn't
you?
that feel gross just saying it? Like,
Yeah.
ew. I don't need to convince anyone. Like, I'm not here for that.
No, like,
Yeah. Mhm.
I mean, like, I have done it where like somebody was making fun of me for being a psychic, right? And I was like, let me do your reading then. Let me do it.
Yeah.
And like, I ended up being 100% correct. And they're like, how'd you know? Because
This is what
Spirit
it is.
told me.
Yeah. Just the messenger.
Right. But like, I'm never gonna like go out of my way to like,
Yeah.
I don't think, I don't think, okay, first of all, we don't have the time for that.
No, I'm not
Like,
here to
meet psychics and mediums, like, I think
convince
that people
anyone.
discount the fact that like to be a psychic or a medium or a healer, that is an expansive energy that we just don't want to do on the fucking random.
Yeah.
We don't have that kind of energy. If we want to survive to the end of the day, like we're not just going to go about like reading 900 random people. It's
Mhm.
just, it's not logical. It's not logical.
Yeah.
And this is where we are telling everybody, like again and again and again and again, use your discernment when we are talking about
Mhm.
these things. And like I was talking earlier about like the TikTok and the DMs. So I want to impart knowledge on how I break down who's fake. Number one, they're messaging me. They're messaging me telling me that they have answers that they do not have.
They're fake.
They're fake.
Mhm.
Number two is they have an account and it looks like somebody that you have followed, but there's just something a tiny bit off with the name. Fake. Just look at what it is. Look at how it is. Go to that person's page and see. Start looking at their like at tag or their like the name on there. The videos that they have that are posted. Do those have a watermark? Do they
Yeah.
belong to the original creator that they stole those videos from?
Did they have a legit website that is the same website of the original creator linked on their page, or is it missing mysteriously?
Yes. How many followers do they have?
Mhm.
Like these are all a
Yeah.
good indication of like where it is. You'll normally see it on like big content creators, but like I've seen it where there's like small content creators that are getting
Yeah.
like
Copycatted
copycatted,
by scammers.
and
Yeah.
it's so sad. And
Hmm.
this kind of bullshit shenanigans is the reason that people think that like psychics and mediums aren't real, that they're
Yeah.
all a scam. And like
Hmm.
that is perpetuating a message that like, no, nobody has this gift. And like,
Yeah.
yes, I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Fight me. But those are some of the ways that like
Hmm.
I wanted to do. And like if you're a content creator, right? Private your following list. Private that shit. So if you're I really honestly feel like big content creators like shit the bed on that fact because like these scammers will go into their following list and see who they're who's
Just
following them and then
scan them
start sending them
constantly.
messages as them. So private your following list, please,
Yeah.
for the love of the gods.
I'm literally gonna
And
go do
then
this after this episode.
yes, yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had mine done for a long time, and I think that's why I don't have any like copycat yet.
Yeah. I don't wanna get
Because
any,
like,
so mhm,
yeah, no, like it just
interesting.
makes it harder for them to like get the scam
Yeah.
out. And then and then one of the other things too, is like we're gonna go back to like the part of like how to discern if it is a
Mhm,
shithead
mhm.
scam is gatekeeping information for
Yeah,
money. Like I have a message for you, pay me $20 and I'll tell you. Fucking ew, dude. Like
yeah. You have a curse on
ew.
you. Pay
I
me and
know.
I'll make
Like,
sure it's gone.
do you see how passionate I am about this? I've dropped the F bomb like probably like 17 times.
We
Like we started out the
know.
episode, yeah, we started out the episode like this is very somber, and it is. It is. And now I'm like, first of all, these bitches on the
Oh. You know what's funny? Actually, you talking about like being cognizant if it's a fake account copying, like, or a fake account following you. That's not the original
Mhm.
account, right? This actually happened to me, I would say probably like a year and a half ago. I was in their live. It was like a psychic medium's live and really enjoying, and like they were chatting with me back and forth, right? Being personable with everyone in the chat. So you start to feel this sense of like, okay, like I've created a potential like community slash, I feel really safe here in this live chat with this psychic. So then they end the live and whatever, and then you get a follow from them, right?
I
And it
forgot
pops
about
up.
those ones.
It pops up and you get excited and you think like, "Oh my God, they followed me." But why does it say I have to follow them back? I thought I was already following them. So like that is a fake account really figuring out the exact time to send you that follow, right? And to maybe mess with you, like, or if they're watching their follow lists on constant, they're instantly sending you a follow back, or
They
they're
do.
smart and doing it right after the live, because then it
They
seems
are. They're
like
doing it
legit.
during the live. They do it while you're so like your name pops up, so and so
Hmm.
joined or whatever. Then they'll like hit follow. And like there's I shit you not, like one time there I was in a live for maybe like 30 seconds. And when I got off, there were like 12 fake accounts for that one.
Yeah,
And I wasn't even following
yeah,
them. So I'm glad that you brought
hmm,
that one up too, because
yeah. Because I did, I
definitely
followed them back, like, oh, I thought I followed them. That's weird. And then I get a message like, hey, like, I think I have some information for you, thinking like, well, I did just talk to you quite a bit, like potentially.
I connected with your energy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I was like, this sounds a bit off, like hi dear. Like when they use certain words like hi dear, it's a little
Yeah, 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 yeah.
obvious.
We
Who
don't,
says
yeah,
that? So yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So I caught on, but could have been it could have been
No, it's
screwed.
it's literally so frustrating though that this is the case.
Yeah.
And I mean it just comes with the territory. Now, I wanted to shift also as like coming from the position of being that psychic medium, it,
Yeah.
when people are like, "Oh, if they're charging you money, it's a scam." Not not really, but like
Yeah. If
you know,
you've booked
there's
with them on
right,
their
like if you're
website.
right, you are seeking that person out for their skill and their observable talent, but you have obviously decided that they are, you know, they're
Yeah.
legit to you.
Use your discernment.
Use your discernment.
Watch them do
But like,
readings.
right, you've watched them do readings, you like their energy, and then you're booking with them. It does not make them a scam artist if they want an energy exchange. Like
Yeah.
again, we're going back to that like that that we don't have the time or energy to like
Just
do
give it
all
to
this,
everyone.
right. And like
Hmm.
you also have to think about like the exchange of energy being like a balancing.
Yeah.
of the universe. Like, because I am a psychic medium, it doesn't mean that I am here to answer everyone's questions, any and all, and like just give out my energy for free. Like,
You're not
you
a
don't
doormat.
expect to go right, you don't expect to go to a gas station and just have them give you free gas. Like, you're still paying for a service that like I had to learn how to do and perfect. And it's not just for me either. Like, I'm not I if you don't want a reading for me, that's I want to okay. All right. But like, I'm just saying, like, for any reader in general,
Yeah.
like they've had to put in the work
Yeah.
for
Don't tell
that.
them they're not worth
Right.
your
And like,
money.
right. Because that's not
Yeah.
that's number
Just
one,
because
not
I don't
really
fall within
cool.
your budget doesn't mean I am not worth that amount.
Right. And like, I, okay, we're going to talk about budgets here for a second too, because like on the flip side of that, like there are some people who are charging astronomical amounts of money. And you know what? If you have valued yourself that high, do I think it's a little unreasonable? Maybe. But I'm not, that's you. You do you on
Mm.
however you feel like you are worth.
Yeah.
Like, do I want to be able to reach more people? That's why like my prices aren't $200 an hour. Yes.
Yeah.
But like, just because there's like a fee for the service that they are providing you doesn't make them a scam either. So I just wanted to let that one
Hmm.
be put out there because I've
There's a happy
I've
medium.
had yes, there's a happy
Yeah.
medium, and I've
Like
heard so many stories from many mediums, and I've been approached to be like, how dare you charge?
it's like, sorry, I have values and I am worth a certain amount. And like honestly, you're setting yourself up for your ideal clients. So if you're gonna just
Yes.
charge really low, you're gonna get those people in there that are just like, this isn't worth anything. How could you charge anything at all? Whereas if you set yourself at a certain bar of like, I feel like, yeah, I'm comfortable and confident here, no one can touch you. Like you can't, they're not going to be interested in that. They're like, well, that's way outside of what I would ever even like consider. So they're not going to come in there and say anything. Or if they do, well, they don't need to stick around. Yeah.
Refund and go somewhere else.
Hmm.
Yeah. But those are some of the things that wow. Those are some of the things that
Ruled.
yeah, I mean, we can tell where I'm at today. So, homework.
Hmm. Actually, before we do homework, before I just want to
Okay.
quickly interrupt you. So going back to one thing I want to mention, when looking to see if an account is potentially fake, go to your search bar in the app, TikTok, Instagram, search the account creator's name that you know you've already followed for sure. Check to see the list of names come up. It's going to be one that you're already following. You may have ended up following multiples because they followed you. You know how that can happen. But look for the one with the most followers, the one without any edits in their name, but like do the search. Do a quick search before trusting a DM. Anyways,
Yeah.
back to
Yes.
homework.
Okay. Homework. So, listening to your intuition and the word of the day, discernment. Use your
Discernment.
discernment. So, I want you to not necessarily do it if you do not feel like you could safely do it without um, facing any repercussions. But um, could you potentially reach out to a trusted community member and do that and to see if some of your ideas and your viewpoints, like if those were shunned or not,
Mhm.
and take note of you know if you don't actually want to go ask them, if you don't want to go talk to them about these things, to go test it out for yourself, because I know that it can be scary.
Yeah.
Think about who potentially you could. And if the number is really low, I mean, does that kind of tell you where you're at?
Yeah. If you're in a community where you feel like you can't reach out to anyone, what does that say about the community? Do you really want to continue being a part of it? Do you need to start exiting to feel back to yourself, back to your center? Listen to your intuition. Honestly, like start journaling. The things that have felt a little icky that you've maybe ignored, those little red flags that maybe today you've had some like aha moments, some light bulb moments like, oh, I never really paid attention, but that has happened to me. Or I want to make sure that doesn't happen. So I'm going to write these things down that I resonate with, that I agree with, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Do some of that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yep. Find out who your friends are, essentially.
Yeah.
True friends.
Find out who you can vibe with. Speaking of
Yes.
vibrations,
Oh my God.
vibes.
Cheesy. Love
I
it.
listen.
Did
This
you
is my
even
segue. This is my segue. So
did you plan
next,
this?
no, I did not. We're winging it. So
Woo!
next week's topic, we're going to be talking about vibrations, frequencies, like the Schumann resonance or the Earth's heartbeat.
Mhm,
This is going to be a really interesting topic, and this is one that we're going to have to kind of open
mhm,
minded about
mhm.
because there's a lot of like stigma around this.
Yeah,
However, these things can be measurable by scientific instruments and have been. So
we will bring that.
we will bring that. So join us for next week's episode um, for vibrations, frequencies, and Schumann resonance.
Yeah,
We will have a more catchy name the day of.
I'm sure
Just
we
saying.
will. Yeah, yeah, and if we haven't created the Discord yet, that means we still need to reach 100 followers. So 100 subscribers. So if you know people that would be interested in our content, that would gain something from our spiritually awkward goofiness and all the topics we bring, please share this with your friends. And we look forward to seeing you next time. This has been Spiritually Awkward. Hey, all the hearts.